He's one of these hidden masters in the internet marketing world.
An incredible knowledge of numbers.
Hi, it's Daryl Urbanski here. As a consultant, I've been helping businesses grow for over 17 years, from zero to the first 100,000 up to $7 million and growing.
You've taken businesses that were about to go under and put in a few key systems and structures that then turn them into multi-million-dollar companies.
For them, the investment was worth it. And right now, I want to make a ridiculous offer to help you for just a single dollar. That's right, only $1 for a personalized business health check. Grow your business into a beast in your market.
A lot of gurus out there that present you a lot of the why and the what, but they don't necessarily give you the how. And what I really found with Daryl's presentation, there's no holding back the screens or the curtains. Like, everything was given to really assist us.
Let's pull back the curtain and see what's working for you and what needs your immediate attention. Go to bestbusinesscoach.ca/health check and sign up for your $1 business health check. This offer expires soon and you'll kick yourself if you miss it. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always. And today we are joined by Brian Cassingena. And Brian is Mindvalley's chief funnel copywriter. He's an Ask Copywriting expert and the youngest looking 15-year veteran in the industry. He's been the copywriter for a number of million-dollar projects and has a system proven to make obscene amounts of money. I've asked him here today to help those of us with a cash flow problem, those of us looking for help. And if you can afford him, maybe after this interview, you can hire the Ask Funnel copywriter for your own project. So Brian, it's always an honor and a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. How you doing, my friend?
Good, Daryl. It's really exciting to be on your show, so I appreciate that. And hey to everyone listening. Thanks for having me on, and hopefully I can share a few insights that I've come across over the last 15 years of doing this stuff.
Yeah. Brian and I met at a mastermind meeting on Bintan Island in Indonesia, but you kind of get there through Singapore. And I was really intrigued by his presentation. That's part of why I asked him to come on here and talk. Before we get into any of that, I mean, you've already mentioned you got 15 years experience. Like, how did you get into this game to begin with? Do you come from a family of entrepreneurs? You know, like, what were you doing when you first started? What were you doing before, I guess, you came into copywriting?
Yeah. I worked in IT with computers for a lot of years. I mean, it's an interesting question. I think I'm pretty much one of the first real entrepreneurs in the family. So I don't come from a long line of entrepreneurs. I kind of had to learn that all by myself. But back in the day, it's about 2003 or so. And this is puts a timeline on how long ago it was. I was actually looking to start a mail order business. So,
that's back in the day. That's old school copywriting.
Yeah. So I wasn't even thinking about the net, but then I found a marketing course, and then they talked about using eBay as one way to get customers. So I started putting stuff on eBay and built up a small but thriving eBay business. And I was selling products to business owners, and they saw that I was listing a lot of stuff and I was doing well enough that they actually asked me to write some of their eBay ads for them.
eBay asked you to write ads for eBay?
No, my customers.
Got it. Okay. Sorry. Okay. That's still cool.
And I found that was a lot easier and more profitable than actually selling stuff in my eBay business, because you can charge, however much you want, however much you can get for, to write copy for someone. So when I started writing this copy, it's when I found exactly how profitable that can be. So
you got off starting, that's how you got into copywriting. And in your career, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've had to face?
There's been a great many of those. Probably the biggest one for me was the shiny object syndrome, where I'd look into all these different methods of making money online. Affiliate marketing, AdSense, copywriting, which I eventually stuck with. But all these different things, they really scatter your attention. And as you and I both know, once you focus on something, once you concentrate your focus in one area, that's when you really start to grow in that area.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny because I've been in it. I haven't been in it 15 years, but I'm probably around the 10-year mark now.
Yeah.
I've at least had my Infusionsoft account for 9 years or so, and I got started kind of before that. So one of the things though is I'm still learning how to simplify. Like I was working with a client, and we were doing something with like a funnel tool, like a web page building tool. And, you can connect it to your WordPress site. And he was like, why are we even connecting to the WordPress site? Let's just simplify it. Just have everything in the tool. And for me, it was one of those but that's what we've always done. And it's funny because I realized that is much simpler. And it's and you can constantly reduce. There's power in simplicity. Once you really start getting complicated, it's hard to make something scale or work. And anyways, I just, like you said, there's constantly a new shiny object. But I'm going to have this funnel and that funnel and, get some things. I would just get something that works. So,
yeah, it's an interesting point about simplification. That's the end benefit of, focusing in on one area. You don't get all crazy and complicated all over the place. So that's the real power of ignoring all the shiny objects and focusing your attention in one area. So it's a good point.
As a copywriter, did you have any challenges? I mean, were you just hot to trot out of the gate? Did you find that there were milestones as you've grown and developed as a copywriter, tricks, not just tricks that you've learned, but things that you had to figure out? You know what I mean? Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It certainly took me a little while to get started. I used to be able to pick up little copy jobs here and there, but always for very low fees. And it wasn't until I started mentoring with a top copywriter, another Aussie by the name of Trevor Toecracker Crook.
Mm-hmm. I know.
He's one of the guys who helped me understand that charging higher fees, for example, is one of the many things he taught me. Charging higher fees, for example, not only makes you more money, but it also is more appealing to clients. It's weird the way we are, but if someone quotes you $500 for a sales page, and then someone else quotes you $5,000, then the higher priced one for most good clients is more appealing. And I know this because I found out after the fact that I've lost out to other copywriters who quoted higher simply because my quote was too low in some instances. So that was another thing that I had to get over. As a beginner copywriter, charging what I'm worth.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. That's a lot of people. It's being able to ask for a large sum of money and then hold a straight face, because that may not be what you would want to pay, right? By any means. So, and you're not always your best client. That's the other thing. One thing I've learned too is that clients who pay more tend to be less of a headache. This is a great lesson. I don't know if anyone's ever had the opposite. Please share the story. I'd love to hear the story from you. But typically, anytime from any business that I've been in, what comes to mind actually is my martial arts school. It was like $130 a month or something, and it was always the students, bless their souls, they're like, hey, can I break it up into 2 payments or 3 payments, or can I and you make the deal, okay, cool. You sincerely want to train, sure, whatever. But they just come back with an endless line of and then this, and then that, and then that. It's just so crazy. If you're quoting people and you're having to go back and forth a ton of times, and if it's starting off that way, don't think it's going to change or get better.
You've just got to, it's going to say you work your way up, but that doesn't mean it has to be slow. I'm like the most stubborn guy in history. I resist everything that I know I should be doing, and then everything, at least at the start of my career anyway. That's why everything took so long. But you hear about a lot of people who come out of nowhere and are suddenly charging huge fees and are very successful. And in a lot of cases, it's true, because you come out and you've got a skill. No one knew about you before, but if you've got the stones to actually ask for what you're worth, and with sincerity and knowing that that you're worth it, and that the client will get the result, and of course, like you say, holding a straight face, then suddenly you're you can 10x your income very easily.
Right. As long as you can deliver, you can jump up. I think there's a great book called Winning Through Intimidation, Robert Ringer, and he calls that the leapfrog effect, that there's no ladder that you have to climb. You don't have to be lower paid just because you're new. It really depends on the results. And even then, sometimes it doesn't, because if people aren't happy, you can go back and do it, redo it 3 times, 4 times if you have to. So it's like you can jump into an industry and start charging industry kind of norms, or even the high price too. When you charge more, it also allows you to give a better product or service, right? You can pay for help, you can pay for coaching, pay for other people to help you do it. So definitely don't want to lowball people too much. So now, in the copywriting work that you've done over 15 years, do you feel that certain types of promotions work better than others?
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those, it depends answers, because it depends on the niche, on the tribe you're marketing to. Like for instance, Mindvalley does webinars really well, and their list responds really well to webinars. But some other things like standard lead generation magnets like PDFs and so forth haven't worked as well for some reason. So a webinar on the front end where people sign up for the webinar as cold traffic, for them works really well. But in other industries, especially in like, I'm going to generalize the internet marketing industry here. Webinars seem to be a lot harder to make work, at least on the front end, unless you're willing to lose money on that first transaction and hold that loss for a little while if you've got the cash flow. But Mindvalley in the personal development niche seems to make their money back quickly on the front end.
Got it. And webinars are fantastic. If you can get a webinar to convert as a front end, I mean, you can scale that pretty big, pretty fast. So that's actually fantastic. So webinars are really good. Now, you also, in your bio, you talk about ask funnels. Can you break that down? We've actually interviewed Ryan 2, I think maybe 3 times on the show, at least twice.
Cool.
Can you break down what it is for any listeners, if this is their first interview ever listening to? What is an ask funnel? Why would you want to do an ask funnel?
Yeah, because Brian Levesque, as you mentioned, is the expert on ask funnel. He didn't invent the actual whole thing. He just optimized it, because I remember back how long ago is it? Probably 7-8 years ago. I was looking at ways to somehow customize the sales pitch that I was making based on things that were entered on a landing page, for example, which is basically what the ask method is. The ask method is where you have a quiz on the front end. And it's not like those, what type of Harry Potter character are you quizzes. Those are just more for engagement. This is, we're talking about proper lead generation here to discover your particular pain point and give you a sales message and segment you based on what that is. So basically there's a quiz that's on the landing page, and the person comes along and takes that quiz. And depending on how they answer those questions, they get a different sales message. It could be one of 3 to 5 different video sales letters is very common. So it's a different sales pitch based on their pain point, and they're also segmented differently in the email follow-ups based on their pain points. So it's all very customized. It's very powerful. It allows you to segment the people who are opting into your funnel on the front end and deliver them a customized sales message, which really speaks to them.
Yeah, I actually have a book. I'm in Asia right now, but back in Canada, I have a book. It's like the psychology. It's something about it's an old book. The copyright's like 1906 or 1912. And it's like the use of psychology as it pertains to advertising, something like that. It's a big, long title. It's a reprint of like classic marketing books. And in it, he mentions the Questionnaire Method. And so it's been around forever. I mean, that's over 100 years old. So the idea of asking people what they want, giving it to them is nothing new. And actually, Ryan Levesque is the protege of Glenn Livingston, who's also been on our show 3 times. And Glenn Livingston used to have a survey model. And that's kind of what got Ryan started in using surveys. And Ryan took it and the research model. And really, Ryan's Ryan created the quiz out of the survey, and then the other ones, the pivot and the do you hate me?
Yeah.
But Glenn was the one that got Ryan onto surveys and really coached him through the process. So it's, again, nobody really owns it, but Ryan's kind of called the ask funnel. So when someone talks about an ask funnel, we're talking about Ryan's method, but it really is, like you said, it's been around forever. There's nothing new under the sun, so to speak. Now, in building one of these quizzes, can you, it sounds great. People come to your site, they fill out a quiz, they tell you what their pain point is, and then you follow them up. Now, why would you want to do that instead of just having a generic message?
It's much more powerful this way because when you can describe the problem of your prospect better than what they can in their own mind, then that's really powerful for convincing them that you've got the solution to that problem. Like when they're going through the quiz, they're not thinking this guy is trying to dig deep and find out what my pain point is. They're in there for to get answers to their problems. So it's much better than a one size fits all marketing message when you really tailor your marketing messages to the person. Let me give you an example. The first one that we rolled out at Mindvalley was on a meditation product, and the 3 pain points that we knew from the market, we did our own surveys, was one, the typical prospect for a meditation product is not sure if they're able to focus to their during meditation. Number 2 is they're not sure if they're doing it right. And 3 is they can't find time in their busy day to actually meditate. So those are the 3 pain points. And basically with the ask method, you customize your sales pitch to those people. So if someone fills out the quiz and gives you the information that they can't find time in their busy day, then you need to cover a lot of different things in your sales pitch than with someone who just feels that they do have time, but they can't focus while they are meditating. So you see how they are segmented that way, and you end up with 3 different segments of people, and it's a lot easier to know your marketing that way, because if you try and appeal to everyone, you end up appealing to no one.
Right. And this is a mistake. I've made it. I probably still make it. Everybody makes it so often. It's such an often thing is that people go too broad. There are riches and niches, bitches. That's such a good thing to remember, because you can always widen a niche. You can always back out a tier. Like if you've niched down too much, you can always go back one level, but a lot of people build businesses around being too wide. And so it's just way more responsive. I can make you read a 1,000-page book. I could guarantee you would probably drop a lot of things to read a 1,000-page book if it was the story of you and your life, right? If I spent years researching you and your life and wrote a 1,000-page book and put it in your hands, so it's the whole concept that people, you can't bore them into reading your marketing material, right? Your sales message. But man, the more it is about them and their specific scenario, the more powerful it gets. Exactly. A big common issue that comes up, I know, with creating these sorts of funnels, it sounds great. People get really hyped up. They're like, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, we're going to make a quiz and we're going to build all these different funnels, customize everything. Can you segment too much? Can you niche in that sense? And for those that maybe aren't already thinking it, I also know can be a considerable amount of work into building one of these. And of course, everything that you want is at the end, of a road of hard work typically, but do you have any tips to either of those? Not segmenting too much, just enough, and trying to get something like a minimum viable thing up and running?
That's what I usually teach, whether it's an ask funnel or any other kind of marketing. I try and stick to the 80-20 of stuff, So the 80% of the results will be gotten by the 20% of the work that we do. So you can definitely segment too much. You can go overboard quite easily, especially if you have a lot of product knowledge about your market. Like we could have come up with 10 different pain points for meditation or any other niche quite easily. But the best way to do it with a minimum viable funnel is, and this is where you roll it out 95% of the time, is around about 3 to a maximum of 5 different segments. And if you really think there's more than 5, then you can segment them into entirely different funnels, entirely different markets. One funnel you should be looking at maybe 3 segments, 4 segments, up to 5. And that really cuts down on the work you've got to do, because for each of those you've got to have different sales pitches, and you can get quite complicated and funky with some of the technology that's available now. But the 80-20 way of doing this is the simplest way, and this is the way that most people should be thinking, is just using a quiz platform like Ryan's one is bucket.io, or you can use Typeform or something else, and just connecting that up to a ClickFunnels page, and then based on the answers, you could create 3 different sales pages, all identical, except for the part where you speak specifically to the pain points that you found from the quiz, because that's the thing that some people don't understand. They think that this is really complicated. I mean, they look at an Ask Funnel flow chart, and sometimes it can be like looking at a circuit board. But really, when I'm talking about a unique sales pitch for each pain point, if you've got a text page, it can be as simple as a couple of paragraphs which are dedicated to that pain point. The rest is the same standard sales pitch. Or if it's a video sales letter that you're doing, you have 3 of those, but it could be just the first few minutes that is dedicated to that particular pain point. Then the rest of the video sales letter is the same standard pitch for each. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just keep it as simple as you can.
Right. Just make sure that they know you're talking. Just make sure that they know you're talking to them.
Yeah.
That they're in the right place. That makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. So where do you see people kind of get stuck, or a lot of mistakes people make when they're putting these up?
One of the biggest places that they get stuck is with that implementation, when they're trying to overcomplicate things, and they think that they have to be an instant expert in the whole methodology. Where so you mentioned before the minimum viable funnel, just get something up and see if it works. The other way that people sometimes get tripped up is that while these ask funnels are great lead generators, in some markets they might not make enough sales to cover your immediate ad cost on the front end. So you might have to wait, say 28 days, and upsell them to something else. It doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it can happen the same with any funnel, really. Right. Any front end offer.
Right. So what you're saying is the cost of getting someone to take the quiz in advertising can't be offset because the price point's too low versus the cost per quiz, that sort of thing. Is there any sort of typical range that you've seen in all the years for what people should expect, either in terms of cost or conversion rates?
Yeah, I've seen some people try and use these ask quizzes for really low price stuff. Like I've seen some for just a few dollars in a front end offer, $7, or low price continuity. It tends not to work with a continuity offer on the front end, so a monthly membership. The best offer that we found to work is a one-time offer, and it priced around from the range of about $50, $47, ranging up to about $100 to $200. Anything over that, then your conversion rates in most cases will be a little bit lower. But we've sold products around the $50 to $100 range quite a bit, and it's in that nice price range where it's a pretty easy purchase when you've really spoken directly to a person for their pain points. But it's enough cash flow to offset your ad spending on the front end. So they tend to usually about break even when they are rolled out like that.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So if you're charging $47 and $97, what you're looking for is to break even. Now, for people that have listened to my show for a long time, they probably already know the answer to this, but why would you want to build a funnel if you're only going to break even?
Yeah, because as a lot of your listeners would know, it's about buying a customer. When I say that Ask Funnels are great lead generators, I'm not talking just about getting an email list onto your database. I'm talking about getting a customer onto your database, somebody that spent money. Because as we know, it's 7 to 8 times more expensive to get somebody on the front end, like cold traffic into the front end of this quiz, than it is to market to somebody who has already purchased from you. They've already bought something, they're already happy with their service, they know and like and trust you. So the mistake a lot of people make is that there's 3 ways of looking at this. There's basically what we call a mom and pop store, where it's a retail store. It could be an online version as well, but they have to make a profit on that first transaction. They don't have a database, so their growth is limited by having to make a profit on that front end transaction, because that person is probably not coming back again. They don't have any follow-ups. They don't have any follow-up system. The second way is to break even, where if they spend $100 in ad costs, then for that customer on average they make $100 back, and then that's where most people should aim to start with. If you can break even on the front end, then you've basically got a customer for free, and you can market to them on the back end for free with your email autoresponder. For those with more size and cash flow, you can get more aggressive and deliberately lose money on the front end. So if you spend $200 in ad costs and still making that $100 sale on average, then you've lost $100 on that front end. But if you can upsell that person on the back end a month later to $1,000 product, then that's $900 in profit. But the only way you can do that is if you've got the cash flow to stay in business from the time you incur that $100 loss on the front end until the time that you can actually make that back end profit of $900. So it takes cash flow. Most people should start looking at that break-even scenario.
Right. That's excellent. So we're talking about lifetime customer value.
Yeah.
And that to have a business that's here to stay, typically it's about a long-term relationship with someone. It's really tough. You can do it, but it's not easy to try and build a business off of one-night stands. People that come through, they buy one product and then they disappear forever. It's just really tough because you have to spend your days finding new people all the time, and that can be difficult.
Yeah.
And it's easier to do if you're selling something like a car, because there's enough margin, enough profit in each sale. You can, afford to spend the money on advertising or in salaries, that you're not starving in between sales. But again, so that's something for people to think about as far as when we're getting this up and running. And especially the business you're building, how can you make it like a long-term thing? If your business is just installing pools for people, it can be really tough, to make that go as a business. And it might be great in the summertime, if you're in a country like Canada, where in the summertime everyone wants to enjoy their pools and go outside and make the most of it. But the rest of the year, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to go. I mean, when someone builds a pool, you got nothing else to sell to them, but you could sell them a maintenance package. You could sell them swimming lessons. You could put in a better porch and patio. You could put a fence around because they need the fence. Like, there's all these things that you could tack on that now you're not just selling them a pool. You've got a family, a suite of products, and you're really creating backyard experiences, and maintaining them for people. And now you've got something to kind of carry you forward. So it's not just a one-time pool installation. That's a limited point of view. You're looking at it as a person with a certain skill set versus really taking care of your customers and that part of their life. That's the real key. You want to be their go-to for everything in that category, right? Whether it's health or business or what.
Yeah, it's great advice because it changes the focus from selling the thing, which is a pool, and it moves on to selling them a lifestyle, which is a pool and everything that surrounds it. It's summer fun. So there's a lot more money when you do it that way.
So now, how do you put the quiz together? And well, let's start off with that.
Yeah. The first step of the methodology is to basically find out what these pain points are. Now, in the 80-20 version of this is pretty much know what the pain points of your market are. If you've been in business any time, you should have spoken to your customers before, and you should know something about what makes them buy. So that's the way you can get started. But if you do have a customer list, or if you want to reach out to some prospects, you can do what we call a deep dive survey. And that's basically you send a quick survey to your list or to people who are in your target market and say, what's the number one challenge that you have in your business? And from that data, you get these pain points. You narrow it down to the top 3 to 5 at most, and that's the pain points that you want to put in your quiz. And you structure the quiz questions to discover which of these pain points that person is suffering from. And the simplest way to do that is simply to ask the question right out. In the meditation quiz, it was something like the same question I just said. When you're trying to meditate, what's the biggest challenge that you have when it comes to meditation? And the available answers were A, I can't find enough time in the day. B, I can't focus while I'm meditating. And C, we're just not just sure if I'm doing it right. And that's how they were sorted into the segments, and that's how they got the correct sales pitch for each segment.
Can you break that down one more time for people because I think that's a really important thing for people to understand, because you can't sell even if you're the best chef in the world, you can't feed someone if they're not hungry. So dialing into buyer needs and wants is so important. Can you just walk us through that one more time in case someone's driving and they can't just replay?
Yeah, I agree completely, because this is the key to making the whole thing work. Like if you don't know your market well enough, and then you could just come up with something that sounds good, or you think that everyone else is doing, then chances are you could miss the mark completely, and then your funnel won't work. So it's very important. The best way to do this, if you have some kind of a customer database, or if you can reach out to people who are in your target market, you ask them the question, what is your number one challenge that you have in this area? And you'll get those answers back. And from all those answers, if you have a customer database, you only need about 250, maybe 500 answers to come back from, like if you email them out a survey. If you're reaching out to people individually, you can get enough information from probably 10 to 20 responses. But from that data, you actually sort all those responses into those individual pain points. So get the top 3 to 5, and there's the answers to your quiz. Try and stick with 3 if you can. The 3 biggest pain points that you've not 3 biggest pain points, not the ones that you've assumed are correct. The ones that you've discovered through this research are correct. And then the quiz that you drive traffic to will simply ask them that same question, and that's how you sort them into the segments.
Right. Perfect. And that's so powerful, because now they've just told you. Like it's kind of like a flip. You put the survey up, you get their questions answered, and then you flip it back. Now, have you ever gotten a survey in the top 3? Like, is there ever a circumstance where you can't just take the top 3 answers? Like one of the things people answered, there's no viable business behind that. Is there any examples you know what I mean?
Yeah, there can be. Really, we're mostly dealing with people that we know are in that target market. Like if you're going back to the meditation example, if in our target market, we know we know for a fact that these people are interested in meditation, whether they're on our list or whether we're reaching out to them as fans of a Facebook page or in a Facebook group or something. We know they've flagged some interest in meditation. So we're not asking people, who aren't interested in meditation, what their biggest meditation challenge is, because they're, if we email that person, they're not even going to respond to that. So 99% of the time, all those pain points are perfectly usable. If you find yourself in that scenario where you're getting this data that you can't solve with your product, and your product's good, then it calls into question the people who you're asking the data from. So if you are asking the right people and there's still some weird pain point that you cannot serve, you could send them to an affiliate link of a product that does serve it, or some other business. It's very uncommon though. Usually you can cover them all.
And so I guess the next question would be, how many data points, like is the quiz just a one question quiz? How many data points are you trying to collect? And how many can you actionably use on the back end without making it super, right? Because if you've got three buckets and you're only pivoting on one data point, then you only have three options. But if you're pivoting off 2 data points for each bucket, you now have 6 possibilities. And so how do you guys do it typically?
We usually don't get that complex. We usually find that the segmented marketing message is powerful enough with the single data point. You can certainly get a lot more complicated, and then you're talking about segments within segments of these people that you're segmenting. So, and that can be more powerful, but it's diminishing returns. You probably get better results, but for how much more work and effort, So we tend not to do that. If you've got an ask funnel that's up and running and working well, and you want to improve that, if you want to try and get the ability to increase the traffic and pay more for traffic while still also increasing the sales, then you can start to really optimize it like that. But for 99% of people, the single data point is fine. I mean, you can certainly have a single question quiz. Like if you've seen a lot of these launches by Ryan's done it, and people like Jeff Walker, where you sign up to watch the videos for the launch, you'll see you'll see their segmentation quiz on the front end there, and before you even enter your email address in, you actually see I remember recently one of Jeff Walker's, he always uses at what stage of your business are you in, and people can answer I'm a beginner, I'm just starting out, or I've been online for a while and I'm struggling to get some traction, or I'm really doing well in my online business. And based on that question, he sends you different email follow-ups.
So typically you could use this. It doesn't even have to be a quiz as a front end. If anyone listening to this already has something that they're using to capture leads, they could just have a drop down to help segment people into a different bucket.
Yeah. If you watch those guys' launches, they'll often have that single question quiz on the front end before you even enter your email address.
That was something back even when I had my martial arts school. Then it was said you can usually get 2 data points like name and email, and then you can have up to 2 drop downs without it hurting your opt-in rates too much. But if you have 3 data points like name, email, phone number, it'll affect your drop-in rate. And if you have 2 or 3 drop downs, then it's like the more things you ask for, the more it hurts. But even if you're just going email and 1 drop down, You're probably not going to get a significant drop if you go like email and 2 drop downs, or name, email, and 1 drop down. So anyway, it's just kind of interesting to play around with that stuff. So now all right, we talked about this. Survey your market, figure out their biggest challenge, take the top 3, make 3 buckets, try to keep it to 3 buckets. If you have to, go out as far as 5. Try to keep it tight though if you can. So now we've got these groups. Now, how do we write, whether it's a webinar and we're segmenting them, or it's a quiz and we're segmenting them? What do you think matters most in the copywriting follow-up?
In the email funnel itself? Sure,
yeah.
And what matters most is to keep a consistent, communication with them based on that pain point. Like, if you have a quiz on the front end and you show them a segmented like sales pitch, custom sales pitch, then and then on the email follow-up on the back end, you just drop back to a single generic sales message in your emails, then that's a lot less powerful, because as we know, only a small percentage of people will buy anything the first time they see it. So the vast majority of your leads and customers will be seeing these follow-up emails. So you've got to keep that. You got to keep that in line with your segmentation. So, and it's easy to do it in the software like Infusionsoft or ActiveCampaign, based on tags and on all sorts of technical stuff, which I don't really tend to use personally. I have people to do that, but with the technology, you can keep that customized sales message coming to them via emails, and it's the same as what I said before. If you picture your email on the page, it only needs to be maybe the top paragraph or so that is customized to that pain point. The rest of the email can be generic, the same for each segment. It's just a small, unique customization of sales copy at the top of the email, which says, "Hey, I can see are you still having trouble focusing during meditation? Here's a good piece of content about that." For example. So that's all it needs to be. Again, the 80-20.
So now, do you recommend, my next question to follow up with that would be about selling in the emails. Do you recommend selling? Because some people are like, anyways, we don't talk about other people. But do you recommend, so they used to say like we talked about mail order. Mail order, it was like, I think it was 80-20. Like 80% content, 20% pitch. Do you pitch in every email? Do you advocate that there should be a pitch in every email? Like if someone signs up to your list and you got a product to sell, you should, be pushing them to the sign up page over and over and over again. How long do you do that for? How hard do you push? Should you just try to establish a relationship for 21 days before you send them any pitches? Kind of what do you feel is the best practice?
Well, it's a lot of different ways to actually do this, and I've seen all of the methods working in different niches with different people. We find that the first email that comes out after they sign up for non-buyers is the one that generates the most sales. So basically, I always make that first email a reminder about the product. Because we found that's one, or if not the highest revenue generating email for non-buyers. So I always have maybe 1 or 2 reminders, but not too many. If they don't buy within the first day or 2, what I usually recommend is to start sending them some useful content. And this helps build the relationship, as you say, because that's very important. It gives them some useful how-to information. But the thing to remember about content versus pitch is that the fact that when you choose the right content, it still contributes to the sale, because what I do is I choose my content strategically. If we go back to the meditation example again, one of the pain points was the fact that people thought they have to, and this is generic. It's not actually one of those pain points, but it is another that we were using for the segmentation. But it's something that's common to all segments, and that's the fact that people think they have to clear their mind like a Zen monk and have that blank mind while they're meditating.
Right.
And we had a great piece of content. We had a great video at Mindvalley which explains why this is not the case. And the reason we use that in the funnel is because it's strategic. Once people watch that video, then that video has overcome their objection towards buying the product. And so that video, while being content, it still contributes to the sale, because once they understand that they don't have to blank their mind, then that's another reason not to buy the product that we've taken care of.
Got it. So you're sending the content you're sending is kind of educating them through objections before they've even necessarily come up, because you're not pitching them right then and there. So it's like assisting the sale that you're going to try to make again in the future.
Yeah.
Now,
the objection is there somewhere, whether they're thinking about it or not.
Right.
In a one-on-one conversation, you would be able to draw that out of them, like if you're one-on-one selling. But when we're marketing to people with mass media like this, we don't have that ability. So we have to kind of bring that up and send them the content, if just in case that's one of the things that is stopping them from buying.
Right. Now, are there typical objections? I know with Gary Bensavenga, he says that the common objections in order are, no time, I don't have time to look at this, it's not for me, why should I listen to you, disbelief, and then time to think. Would you agree with that? Would you add anything to that? Would you change it?
Well, I can't think of any scenario where I would disagree with a man like Gary Bensavenga. For whatever copy I've written, the no time objection is always the biggest one, and that's the main one, because we're all busy. I know I've got a bunch of courses in my inbox which I've never even logged into. Just haven't had time to log into them. So everyone else is the same too. So if you can get around that objection, like for instance, when I talk about continuity programs, for the time objection, I always break it down to the number of hours you've got in a year, and break down the continuity program to the number of hours that it would take per month, and then you can really make it sound like just a few minutes a month that people need to spend looking at this material, and that's the way I kind of get around that objection. That's the big one. The other big one for me is trust. So the more testimonials that you can have, but the better. But also different kinds of proof. There's scientific studies. There's all sorts of different proof that you can use depending on your niche. And that's the other big one, probably trust.
Now, you mentioned continuity. How is selling continuity different than selling a one-off product?
Continuity is a bit more of a commitment for a person. I've seen a lot of continuity products launched, and there's different ways of doing it. But I see a lot of people trying to sell it on the front end, and it's kind of like going up to a girl in the bar and sort of planning out your next 3 dates. Like that's kind of the sales pitch that you're coming across to people. And if they're already a fan of yours, they might agree to try you out that way. But really, it's a little bit of a commitment. You really want to sell them something small and non-committal on the front end, just to get them to test the waters. in every example that I've seen that I've worked on, that's the way it's worked better. I mean, I've seen Ask Funnels where they're trying to sell a continuity product and it just doesn't work at all. For some reason, mostly because of the commitment, it just doesn't. It's too much to ask the person on the front end.
Right. So, does it work?
This is it. This is like sorry to interrupt. But this is like even when you have no contracts and no minimum terms, like cell phone companies, like a lot of places in Asia. I think it's in the US. I saw you can get contracts like 3 years or something, which is insane.
Yeah, no, it's nuts.
In Australia, it's like 2 years is common, but people don't want that. They just want their phone, and they want the flexibility to go with whatever service provider they want, and if they know that if you drop the ball as a service provider, that they've got plenty of other choice and they don't want to be locked into you. So that even when your continuity is like you can cancel instantly at any time, it still seems like too much of a commitment, because I guess psychologically deep down we know that it's like the old Reader's Digest books where they used to just pile up after a while, and then you eventually get sick of seeing them, and you'd realize that your credit card was being whacked for each one as well. So you'd eventually cancel. We know that that's likely to happen if we sign up for something, even if we know there's a trial period. We know that we're likely to miss that. That's why it's too much commitment. So they work much better on the back end once they know, like, and trust you, and they know that they want to hear from you regularly. Continuity is a great offer.
And so, is there any way you present continuity or would pitch it? Or, I mean, it sounds like sell a one-time something on the front end, and then try to get them. Like if you're selling supplements, give them a sample or the supplement first, and then offer the auto ship. Hey, do you want to have to order this every month, or do you want us to just ship it to you? And if you have too much, you just cancel. Or that sort of thing. Now, because some people say use the premium. People say Sports Illustrated was built off the football phone and stuff like that. People bought Sports Illustrated subscriptions based off the premiums. Do you typically think that a continuity would work better with a premium on the front end? Is it more just a sample? And then, and then the option to hey, did you enjoy that? Want more? Click here and get whatever.
The premiums do work. And I'm not sure. I guess they are still doing that. And the infomercials that I've seen, pretty much work the same way. I mean, that's where your premium actually becomes almost the main offer. Like you position it as a premium, but that's really what the thing that people want. The football phone, the football phone in the online world is ClickFunnels, because if you see in Russell Brunson present at seminars, the product that he pitches, like a $3,000 information product, all these different marketing courses and stuff. But what he's really selling is ClickFunnels.
Right.
So the way he's positioned that, he gives that away as a premium. He gives away 12 months worth of access to ClickFunnels as the premium, but that's actually the thing that people want.
Right.
He's got the premium product in the market, which he's positioning as the premium that he gives away as a free bonus when he sells his package at seminars, and that's why he recently did I think it's Grant Cardone's 10X seminar. He sold like millions of dollars worth of product. And his bonus for that was a year of ClickFunnels. So that's how he's positioned his premium. And of course, once you've got all your sites on ClickFunnels, and that 12 months expires, you're going to have to stay with ClickFunnels and start paying the monthly membership or whatever, if you want your sites to stay alive.
Right. So he's front ending. So to help clarify people, he's front ending information products, and he's bonusing ClickFunnels, the subscription into it. Hey, you're going to get this, and you get, this free thing with ClickFunnels. But to redeem your 12 months of ClickFunnels, you have to put your credit card into the system, right? To create your account, you got to add your credit card, but we're not going to bill you, which I think is a really smart way. So got it.
Well, he's good enough that he actually bills them for like $3,000 for that product at the seminars, and the ClickFunnels is just a bonus for that. So but after the 12 months, he can start billing him again, because they built their sites on ClickFunnels and they want to stay with ClickFunnels. So the charges will start coming again after that. So that's how he does.
And, it reminds me, I forget where I heard this, but I heard it as a story somewhere, and I really don't remember where, but it's a story of like, if you tried to catch a bunch of wild pigs, right? If you tried to fence them and they'd run away from you. But if instead you went out to your yard or your field and you just started putting food there for them, and they would come and they would eat, and then they, put food there for them, and they'd come and they would eat, and you could start building a fence around them slowly, and they would just kind of relax, and they'd get comfortable with you there. Oh, he's the guy that brings the food, and they would just kind of hang out, and then you build this fence around them, and that's like how you catch. I forget where I read this. I don't even know. I feel like it was in some sort of Eastern philosophy book, not the Tao Te Ching. It was something. I don't even think it was the Bhagavad Gita. I don't even know what it was. But I just remember reading the story. Maybe it was a marketing story somewhere. But that concept, instead of going out and chasing and trying to hunt them down, instead attract them to you by having something really appealing. And, it just happens that part of the deal is I'm going to build this fence while you're here. And until the fence is done, you can leave. Like ClickFunnels, you've got 12 months. You can leave at any time.
Yeah.
Right? Like nothing sinister is happening here. But every month, one panel of that fence is coming up as you build your business in there. And at the end of the 12 months, we've got you penned in. And that was totally by your choice. It was totally up to you.
Yeah. That's a really good way of putting it. And of course, you'd have to keep putting the food out once the fence was built. Otherwise, they'll just jump the fence to somebody else. So,
right. Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So there's that too. But it's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. I don't know. I just something that you reminded me of. I haven't thought of that in forever. That's kind of neat. So, Brian, we've talked about a lot. I mean, we talked about how to build the funnel, how to segment, how to have really, when we talked about even the asking the most important challenge and segmenting off that, it's how to make your marketing and sales more effective, how to be less salesy, how to have more personal communications with people, whether you're doing this on the phone, whether you're doing it in person. It's just a simple, what I think was also powerful is a lot of times working with sales teams and stuff, they so often want to have we want to know how many employees and how much money the company does and all this stuff. A lot of these data points can be really difficult to ascertain, but depending if you have a product for any size of those demographics, maybe at the beginning you could just segment based off pain point first and foremost. That's maybe the best first foothold to get the conversation going. So I think that was really powerful and valuable. I don't know if everyone caught that. We talked about how to get up and running quickly. We talked about how to have customized marketing, personalized marketing without adding like a doubling or tripling your workload. I think that's really powerful. We talked about webinars and how those are great for some on the front end, not necessarily other. They're still a great tool if you can't front end it. Obviously, go through on the back end. Talked about a couple of sales mechanisms, so webinars, text sales pages, VSLs. I think that's part. We didn't talk about teleseminars. We didn't talk about a lot of other things. Because I think that these are really scalable tools. So that's partially why we were focusing people on them. That's something that you and I already think built in, but some of these people listening, they might be in a one-on-one sales business. And so it would be interesting for them to think about how could you do your business with a webinar, with a sales page, with a VSL, because that will allow you to grow and scale. Talked about not selling the pool, but selling the lifestyle around it. Don't just solve the one problem. Be the go-to person for everything. That way you can have a suite of products because it will allow you in your marketing to have a lifetime customer value, which will allow you to be more competitive. What we mean is if you're just selling the pool, you got to make any money. The deal you make on that pool is the deal you make on that pool. But if you can bring them in and you have a suite of things to sell them, now you don't have to make as much money on the pool. You just need to get them as a customer because you're going to get them for the swimming lessons and the patio and the fence you're going to build around the pool. So I think that was really, really important as well. That you didn't have to necessarily do a quiz. If you already have something that's working, you can just segment right then and there, a simple drop down. And we also talked about how to follow up and market to them, that being consistent with the reason why they friends for a reason, friends for a season, and friends for life. If they tell you the reason why they're on your list, don't start talking about something else. Keep to that reason. One of the other things I think was good is you talked about really, you told people the goal that really the first email they send them should help with the most sales. So that first email, I think, is where the focus point is, because I think it can be confusing for people in today's day and age when you can have email tools that go on for years and months and however long. How often do I nurture them and how often do I sell to them? You're like, that first email should be selling. It's not, maybe it's not the hardest sell email, but it should be a performing email for sure.
Just a reminder. Yeah.
Right. A reminder. So I think that was really good as well. And that the content, you need to strategically think about your content and have it educate people through objections. We even gave a list of objections, right? No time, not for me, why you, I don't believe it, I need time to think. And then you also highlighted that the no time and the trust factor were the two biggest things. So giving people a reason, why should I stop what I'm doing to listen to this now? And then the trust part is really big. And it's not just testimonials, it's having different types of proof. And then we talked about selling continuity and how to sell it and what is working, what isn't working, how premiums often you're selling the premium and the continuity is kind of the sidebar to that. I love that. I think that's fantastic. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that I should have asked you about?
No, I think you covered everything. That's a hell of a lot for people to take in and start implementing, which I think it's the only step that people can go after they've understood all this. It's just to get that 80-20 funnel, that minimum viable funnel up and running. Don't worry about perfection. Just get something going. Yeah. That's what Ryan says. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get it going.
That's right. Yeah. Gary Halbert said the back of the day. You don't have to get it right. You just got to get it going. Yeah. So if anyone here thinks, okay, I'm ready gung-ho, or they're already in it and they're stuck and they want some help, how do they reach out to you if they want to get your help with it?
Just go to my website, which is funnelinfluence.com. Okay. And at the top of the site, I've got a button they can register for a free editable funnel chart, and I'll send all these different funnel charts that they can look at, because sometimes it can be a bit like looking at a circuit board, especially if you're just starting out. But you get these on your computer, you see how they connect up and flow together, all the moving parts, and before you know it, you're really familiar with the way everything works together, and you can start to working on it to crack open your click funnels or whatever you use, and then start putting stuff into action.
That's awesome. So the URL one more time?
funnelinfluence.com.
Perfect. Brian, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always an honor and a pleasure. I appreciate knowing you. I appreciate what I've learned from you and the things that you've reminded me of, and I appreciate you taking some time to share with my audience today. I think this has been a really impactful call. People may want to listen to it again. There was a lot of nuggets in here. There really, really was. I mean, from this, if you knew nothing, you would know enough to be dangerous. Just after listening to this, I really like this one call in and of itself. So again, I thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're traveling, and so I appreciate you, my friend, and I'm looking forward to catching up again to see how things are going and just, growing old and successful together.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate everything that you've put into this call as well. Been insightful to me too. So, but I'm happy to share with you or your tribe anytime. So if anyone wants to hit me up, I'm happy to share even more.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, what can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give to them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast. And if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.